Hello, welcome to Clash of the Rams, the sports talk show. I'm your host, Jeremy Hayes. Along with me, we have Eric Ruza, Jared Dory,
Hello?
and Davison Perez. All right, guys, episode 2, so let's get started. October means two things, Halloween and the playoffs for baseball. So what do you guys think? We got wild card coming up tomorrow, so what do you think about the postseason in general, but also who might win the wild card game? Eric?
Well, we have a playoff game first tonight with the Rays and the Rangers just to get to that wild card game. So that's an extra night of baseball for us. But I like the Indians right now in that game on Wednesday night. They've won 10 in a row. Terry Francona has that team on a roll at the best time of the year. So I would be afraid to play them if you're the Red Sox come Friday night at Fenway.
Yeah, but I absolutely agree. I think if you were the Red Sox, you want nothing to do with Terry Francona and the Indians. They're going out hot. They ended the season very hot, just going crazy. Would they win like 10 in a row, something like that? Yeah. Unbelievable. So if you were the Red Sox, out of those three teams, I'd be looking for probably the Rangers. That would be the best bet out of all of it. They barely got their way into the playoffs. They're slacking. I think if they're the Red Sox, you want to somehow get the Rangers. Looks like it'll be the Indians.
I kind of disagree with you guys. I think the Red Sox don't have anything to be afraid of with the Indians. The Indians have a lot of questions coming into this game. They have the issue of their bullpen not being too strong. They have Masterson in there, but also putting Masterson in the bullpen takes away from your starting pitching, and their starting pitching isn't all that great either. So if you're facing the Indians, I don't really see much of a threat other than their offense, but the Red Sox this season have proved throughout the tail end and for the most part the entire season that they have the good defense and they have pitching. The bullpen is not the greatest, but they've gotten the job done thus far, especially with the fact that they have Dempster in there now to give them another added dimension. This team really does not have any questions going into this season. Gomes said it in an interview last night actually, when they asked him about how he feels about going into the postseason, and he said, "We really don't have any question marks." And when you look at it, it's true. They got Ellsbury back. Ellsbury's healthy again. Everything seems to be up to par with this team. So I don't really see any scare with any of the teams that are in the wild card game, whether it be Texas, who they're playing good, but and they got Nelson Cruz back, but I don't think they have enough firepower to go against the Red Sox.
No, I definitely completely agree with you. The Red Sox are definitely in the best spot in this whole scenario. They won the top record, so they faced the wild card team. And think about it: each of those teams, they have to throw out one of their best pitchers against the 163rd game. So whoever wins that, then they got to throw another good pitcher out for the wild card game. The Red Sox can just sit there, wait back, and they have a good position to just win. They have a good matchup pitching-wise, and I think they have nothing really to worry about. I think they're the favorite, but Indians might put up a challenge, I think, but they do definitely, I think, have a good spot in this.
The whole thing with this new playoff system is that the division winners have an advantage now. Mm-hmm. The wild card teams, like Jared said, they have to throw their best pitchers. They're not going to have everybody lined up for Game 1 on Friday night. John Lester is going to pitch for the Red Sox against maybe a third, fourth starter for whoever wins these couple of games coming up. So the Red Sox sitting back may be a bad thing. They have 4 days off with nothing going on. They're going to play a simulated game. A couple of guys are going to pitch, but will that affect them at all? I don't know.
You gotta ask yourself this too. Who would have thought, first of all, that the Indians would be here after the season that they had last year, and second of all, the Red Sox. You gotta ask yourself who's gonna be manager of the year this year between Farrell and Francona. That's gonna be an interesting dynamic towards the end of the season.
It's a great question. If I had a vote, I would vote for Francona.
I agree.
I love what John Farrell's done for the Red Sox, but to take the Indians, the Red Sox have such a high payroll and so many, they don't have really any superstars, but they have guys that you expect to have big, huge seasons. The Indians, I don't think anybody thought they even had a chance to contend.
And even though they made those moves by getting Michael Bourne and Nick Swisher, those aren't really too big of a pickups. And it's just it boils down to that, to the money situation that they have. And I agree. I think first time back to even being mentioned in the playoffs since 2007.
Yeah.
So I'd give the edge to Francona in this one.
All right, and we actually only have another minute on this segment, but you brought it up earlier. As far as the wild card, a year ago, a bunch of people were all over it, but now a couple of people are turning on. They don't like it too much. And one example, Pirates fans, they're 5 games up on the Reds, and now all of a sudden it's 1 game to get in the playoffs for them.
That's true.
They're 5 games ahead, and now it's a little bit unfair to them. So I just want to ask you guys, just real quick, do you like the new wild card format or no?
The Pirates can suck it up. This is baseball. You can suck it up. I mean, if you're as good as you've proven yourself to be throughout the regular season, you can beat the Reds in a 1-game qualifier. Let's be honest.
But we were talking about how it was a disadvantage for other teams, so now you're kind of going back on that, saying that, too bad for them.
The wild card being disadvantaged against who?
For those teams going in, and the teams who win the division have an advantage because these other teams have to throw in their first pitcher, which the Pirates shouldn't have to because they're in the playoffs. They should be in the playoffs, so it shouldn't matter.
I mean, they felt it's their own fault for falling off in the tail end of their regular season.
It makes
if they would have took care of business when they were supposed to take care of business, they wouldn't be in the situation, and it'd be the Cardinals instead of them. It all boils down to the team, right?
All right.
I do agree with Davison. I think the wild card is awesome. I love it. It gives a whole new dynamic to the end of the season, end of September. You got to now fight for the best record, so then you're in the best spots rather than casually just, I'll set back, win the wild card. It doesn't really matter because every year it's always been the same thing. Wild card division leader. Now it's you want to win the division. It gives a whole new dynamic to the game. I love it.
It's a good thing. Look at all the teams that were involved at the end. You had Cleveland, Tampa, Texas, all these different cities.
The Royals. So many possibilities.
I definitely agree it makes it way more exciting, but if that was your team, you definitely wouldn't be happy with that.
I wouldn't be happy about it, but at the same time, I'd understand that my team didn't play and didn't get the necessary wins to make it to
I'm just saying
playoffs.
It's hard for teams because this is a new thing. We have to accept that they're not used to having to do this at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But you all definitely make great points. But we got to move on to the next topic. Week 4 in the NFL yesterday. It was a rough one for the Patriots. They pulled one out against the Falcons, but it looks like Will Fork's going to be out for the season. So that's interesting. But also the Broncos and the Seahawks look like they're still among the best in the NFL. Yeah. So what are your Week 4 thoughts?
Well, I think the biggest thing comes from last night with the Patriots. I mean, they pretty much dominated that game until the very end. They kind of took the foot off the pedal a little bit and let Atlanta come back and almost tie that game. But once again, the defense looked excellent against their biggest test of the season so far. They had a real test against Matt Ryan going into Atlanta, where the Falcons don't lose very often. Right. And the defense was impressive. Aqib Talib is as much of a difference maker as that defense has had in a long time. And the loss of Will Fork is obviously huge. I'm not sure how they're going to fill that hole. They don't really have anybody. And the offense is getting there. They're, making steps every week. Kenbrell Tompkins was much better last night. Had some unbelievable catches. Brady seems to be getting more and more comfortable with that group every week. And I think it's just another step forward. It's amazing that the Patriots are 4-0 with all the problems that they've had.
Yeah, absolutely agree that to come out of going before that game, it was really basically this is the first test against a good offense. First test, and I think the defense really did hold up for the majority. At the end, it did get scary, but Aqib Talib just has came up. This game really proved he's a huge piece of this defense. And I have concerns for Atlanta now. I thought Matt Ryan looked horrible. I thought there was a lot of throws. I don't know if it was the defense, more defense, or just him making horrible throws, but I just thought Matt Ryan looked horrible.
Let's be honest. Matt Ryan played well. Ryan played well. He had over 400 yards passing. It was more so the defense, the Patriots defense, that kept them on lock. Aqib Talib, man, the work that he did on Julio Jones last night, that was beautiful. He's starting to be a real team leader on this team. Kenbrell Tompkins, like you brought up, Eric, in the past 2 games, he's had 3 touchdowns on 9 catches for 168 yards. Are you kidding me? Like that just goes to show you that he doesn't touch the ball nearly as much as say Julio Jones or Roddy White, but he makes the plays when he makes the big plays when Tom Brady needs him to. He gets open. He has good hands, and also it was interesting how the Patriots did straight away from their no huddle offense. They huddled. They took their time. They paced the game well. And LeGarrette Blount, man, whew, he was off on that one play.
A big run.
It was a huge run.
Well, a big part of the first half of that game was the Patriots really, really depending on the run, which they haven't done in a long time.
Yeah, since Corey Dillon.
Yeah, they had at one point 10 straight rushes or something like that, which is unheard of for them. But yeah, just that offense is taking steps. Like one thing Davison said about Tompkins, though, he's still getting all these targets, but he's only catching, what did he have, 5 or 6 catches last night, and he was targeted like 14 times. So that's one improvement that they still have to do with him is to catch all the balls that are coming his way. He's still having a little trouble with some drops, but other than that, more strides for the Patriots.
It looks like they definitely. It's amazing they're 4-0 and to keep going, but help is on the way. If Gronk can come back, Amendola can come back, but it's going to be a test now. They have to face Cincinnati and then Drew Brees and the Saints. Mm-hmm. So there comes the test more. So there's 3 tough games. This last game, then the next 2 weeks, next 2 games will be the real test. But hopefully, if Gronk can come back, they'll be way better. And it's just granted they're 4-0, unbelievable.
Yeah, you mentioned Cincinnati. When they get there in week 6, it's funny because you don't know what Cincinnati you're gonna get. Cincinnati lost to the Browns last night.
Brian Hoyer.
Are the Browns for real?
The Browns
though?
and Brian Hoyer. That's the real question. There's the first 4 weeks of the season have been so interesting because you have the Ravens losing to a team like the Bills, Flacco throwing 5 interceptions. You got the Giants that are 0-4. Excuse me, they're 0-4.
Steelers.
The Steelers are 0-4. With questions about whether Mike Tomlin's going to finish the season with this team. So it's been a pretty interesting 4 weeks.
The Jaguars have about 95 as far as point differential, negative 95. Next closest, negative 85, the Giants.
That's amazing.
The Giants, you talk about a team going from, they have a good chance of winning the division to...
Bama can take out the Jags.
Take it from the bottom all the way to the top with now Denver. They look unbelievable. It is just scary good.
I'm telling you.
It reminds me of 2007 Patriots. It is just unbelievable to watch every single game with Peyton Manning. And even the run game was good last night, too. It's just everything about that team.
Tom Brady and the Patriots better watch out for all those records they set in 07 because Peyton Manning and the Broncos look like they're about to shatter everything that they did. He has 16 touchdowns, no interceptions so far. Just crazy video game type numbers from Peyton Manning so far. But I guess that's what happens when you have Wes Welker and Eric Decker and Demaryius Thomas go down the line and all the weapons that he has. They're a scary, scary team.
The Patriots got to be beating themselves up right now. I mean, letting Wes Welker go was probably one of the worst decisions they could have ever made. Wes Welker went to the Broncos for $2 million. $2 million more than what the Patriots were offering. That's chump change. They have some positive things going on right now, and they're gonna get better in the future. But Welker could have been a key piece.
I think before we move on, I think it's less of a the Patriots lost them because they'll be like we're watching right now. They're 4-0, they're bouncing back. But I think it's that the Broncos really found like a treasure in him, and they already knew what he was capable of. So it's gonna be.
I mean, everybody knew what Wes Welker was capable of. It's not like the Patriots didn't know what they
had. It wasn't like a clueless.
No way.
All right, we gotta move on though now to hockey. So
my favorite topic.
I was about to say. I was gonna say Halloween and the playoffs for baseball, but also hockey.
Hockey season.
Everybody's excited for hockey season to be back. So, what do you think about this upcoming season? Our first full season since 2011, 2012.
Yeah, it should be another exciting year for the NHL. They're really on a nice roll lately the last few years. A lot of entertaining players, a lot of entertaining teams. I think to focus on the Bruins, they're going to be right in it again. We talked a little bit last episode about all the moves they made in the offseason, but they should be right there again. The Blackhawks should be right there again. Pittsburgh's going to be right there again. So a lot of the same teams are going to be around and it should make for another very exciting season in the NHL.
If you want to stick in like the Bruins division, with the Bruins, I think every team in the division may have taken a little step forward, including now with Detroit now, like being there. I think it's going to be awesome for a Bruins fan to watch all these big matchups with Detroit. And then now we have Montreal back to where they are, Toronto a little better, Stamkos in the division, Bobby Ryan in the division, Tim Thomas in the division now. It's just, I think it'll be a tougher division matchup now with the new realignment, and you just feel bad for the Florida teams because they have just no chance at all anymore. But the realignment is very confusing now. It's hard getting used to who's and where now. It's just, but I like it.
Well, yeah, that's a good point about the realignment. While some teams are loving the decision of a realignment because of flight issues and having different time zones for their fans to be able to watch the games more frequently. Some teams are loving it, but there are some teams like the Kings who are like, oh man, how tough are you gonna make my division?
Very tough.
Like the Pacific Division has the Oilers, the Sharks, so all of these playoff caliber teams. Which the Oilers, by the way, I hear from what I read, are poised to make a significant comeback from last year with their new young talent. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I like the Oilers a lot, actually. I think they can make some noise come playoff time. They have a lot of young talent.
New captain
Andrew Ferentz, former Bruin, of course, will lead that team that, like I said, has a lot of young guys. So he should be a great fit, a great leader for that group. But Davison made a good point that division out west is extremely difficult with LA and San Jose and Vancouver all in the same division. But the Bruins, too, they have Detroit in their division now. That's going to be extremely tough as well. But Toronto is good, Montreal is good, Ottawa is good. It's going to be quite
Ottawa
the
too.
year. Yeah, exactly.
A banged up Ottawa can make the playoffs, so now you add Erik Karlsson back. Now Bobby Ryan, so now things are finally clicking for Ottawa. So the Bruins, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but 3 teams in the division still can make it, so a lot of room for the Bruins to be right up there. I think they're going to be right up there again because they're one of the best teams. I still think Chicago's the best team in the league. And then, so we'll see how it goes for that, but I think still Chicago is definitely one of the top.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you guys short on the discussion, but I mean, there's going to be plenty more hockey, hopefully, assuming we get a full season this year. Nothing goes wrong, no lockout. We should be good to talk about for the rest of the year. But now we're going to move on to our debate, which is going to be our first debate of the year. So, Davison, care to explain?
Sure, thanks, Dave. So today we're going to have a 3-minute debate between Eric and Jared. It's going to be 3 minutes, obviously. And the team with the best argument, or the person with the person with the best argument, is going to win the debate. So, you guys ready?
Yeah,
let's do it.
All right, let's get it started. Start the clock.
All right, who do you want to go?
Yeah. Oh wait, before we start the clock, what do you have to
Shake
decide?
hands.
Yeah.
Shake hands. All right, so are you going to elect me to go first, or Eric?
Let's go with Jared.
We get Davison taking charge.
All right, so here we go. So the best player in the NHL, the best overall player, my guess would be Steven Stamkos. I would go Steven Stamkos as the overall best player, and I'll let you announce who your player is.
I'm going with Sidney Crosby.
Okay.
Obviously, didn't look too great against the Bruins in the postseason last year, but I don't think there's any doubt that he's still the best player in the NHL. He was injured again for a lot of the end of last season and still was right up there at the top of the league in points and goals and assists. He brings something when he's on the ice that nobody else can bring. He just has that threat to do something every single time he steps on the ice, as does Stamkos. But Crosby is just that difference maker. He can make the pass if he needs to. He can create plays. He can score. He can do it all. I'm not sure if Stamkos can do all of the play. I don't think Stamkos has all the playmaking abilities that Crosby has.
Okay. I think it would be absolutely delusional to say that Sidney Crosby is not the most skilled player in the NHL. It would be absolutely delusional. I think every single hockey fan, every person who even knows anything about hockey knows Sidney Crosby is at the top, skills-wise. But when you're talking about your best player, the best overall player, you have to look at it in a lot of different categories. Skill set, speed, awareness, toughness, leadership. And if you want to pick who's going to be the best player, you want to go with the guy who's the most durable, the guy who is not going to miss 119 games in a total of the last 5 seasons. Sidney Crosby is injury prone and he's not durable, and that's the problem. If I'm going to pick somebody to be on my team as the best overall player, I'm going to pick the guy who's Steven Stamkos, who has missed 3 games in his career. That is 5 NHL seasons where he has missed 3 games. Sidney Crosby, in those 5 seasons, has missed 119 games. Steven Stamkos, skills-wise, nobody would disagree that he is right up there with Crosby. If you talk the top elite talent in the NHL, it's going to go Crosby, and right there is Stamkos. Stamkos was second in the league in points, second in the league in goals last year in the shortened season. The year before, second in points, first in goals. It's just he's a consistent, always there playing guy. He's always going to be on the ice, one of the most durable, toughest guys. Sidney Crosby gets hit in the face, he's out for 12 games last season. Steven Stamkos gets hit in the face, and he's out, gets hit in the face by a Johnny Boychuk slap shot, and he's back 3 shifts later and played every single game that season.
I would give Crosby a little bit of a break for his concussion issues that he's had. It's kind of the thing that the NHL is going through right now that you have to sit out, so I wouldn't hold that against him. But if you're telling me two guys, if I had to pick between these 2 guys, when they're healthy and put them on the ice, it has to be Crosby.
That's the problem when they're healthy.
Just the fact that he's already won a Stanley Cup and he's gone to another. Yes, he didn't look good against the Bruins last year, but if I had to win 1 game tomorrow, Sidney Crosby would be on the ice.
That's the problem, is we're talking about 1 game. I'm talking about 82 games and then the postseason.
And time. Sorry, guys. All right, for this week, our booth men are actually calling the winner this week. So
Exciting.
Who's the winner, guys?
Oh!
They decided to pick the tiniest paper to show us the
Right.
And
Writing
the
it on
winner of today's debate is none other than the sophomore Jared Doherty.
Good win,
It's
Jared.
good debate.
Good debate.
Good work.
You don't get that little Stanley
debate.
Cup, though.
Pick up
I'm
the
sorry.
Zamboni.
All right, before we close out the show, we're going to just finish up with our Ram rants. And Dave, I hope you don't mind if we start with you.
Oh, not at all.
Take 30 seconds to a minute tops.
Sure.
Go.
So basically what I'm going to talk about today is about the NCAA and the lawsuit that they're going through. Recently, EA Sports and the licensing company that they work with settled for $40 million for around 200,000 players, former college athletes. Granted, it's only going to be $100 and something to each of those players, but they are getting compensated. And the relevancy to that to the NCAA is that the Ed O'Bannon is leading a lawsuit not only against EA Sports and against the licensing company, but against the NCAA, and trying to get more of the billions that he feels that the NCAA is extracting from their players. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting lawsuit to follow, and that's all I got.
All right, Jared.
So I'm going to go back to an NHL discussion. It's a little late in the game to be talking about it. It was the big thing when the preseason started, but the new helmet rule with the fighting, it's a little awkward. You get in a fight with somebody, you got to take off their helmet. Like, people are finding loopholes to that. I just think it's awkward. I just think, as a fan of the sport, I like them just ripping their helmets off and going into it. Now you're going to have broken fists punching the helmets. If they're going to do that, causes another problem for like breaking your knuckles trying to punch some guy in the helmet. So then you're awkward. Oh, let's take 20 seconds. I want to just beat the crap out of you, but now I'm going to take your helmet off first, shake hands, pat your shoulder, and then we're going to fight. It's just very awkward. I hate it.
All right.
Gonna take another NHL, another shot at the NHL. The Winter Classic was something that was supposed to be this great once-a-year spectacle that has everybody watching on TV, has everybody wanting to go. Now this year we're going to have 6 or 7 different outdoor games, which I think is way over the top. You're taking the spectacle out of it. It's going to be like a normal thing now. I just think it's a terrible, terrible thing. They're ruining what they had built with the Winter Classic of an outdoor game that everybody loves to watch, and it's just going to be way too much with 6 or 7 of these things now. So that's my rant.
All right, my rant. We all know that the Giants are 0-4, but let's talk about the NFC East. For the past 10 years, all that you ever hear fans talk about any of those teams, if they were in any other division, they'd be dominant. Well, this year it doesn't look that way at all, and it hasn't looked that way in the past, but for some reason, just because your best team doesn't have a good record, you create an argument that doesn't really make sense. the NFC East as a whole is 3-11 against non-divisional teams this year. They're not that good. None of the teams, if they went to any other division, guess what? They'd have the same record, probably because they're not that good. And we've had Giants fans on the show. We've had Brandon Crosby, Ashley Cassio, Mike McMahon, all coming. They've all used the same excuse of, oh, if they're in any other division. But as far as right now, we'll see what happens later in the season if the teams can improve. But that can't be an excuse for your team or any of the teams as far as how good they are. You play against who you play, and you got to win. That's all you got to do. You can't make an argument or any excuses.
Yeah.
All right?
All right.
By the way, we might have to have a debate about the whole
NCAA
NCAA.
thing. I'm looking forward to
that.
it.
That might be
Maybe
a flash
next week.
forward
Maybe
to
next week. Look forward to it.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right, good
Yeah.
show, though, this week, guys. That's all from us today at Studio 73. We'll see you guys next time.